Я Джейни, по-русски Жанна, and we're starting a new week of lessons. And in today's lesson, we're going to be talking about past tense, and we'll be getting a little bit more practice on our prepositional case that we talked about last week. So this week, you should have the following goals. You're going to be able to talk about places you've lived, been, and worked. Since that's all past tense, you should be able to put all of those things into past tense. You'll also get introduced to reflexive verbs in Russian and learn some different words that require the reflexive verb form. The other thing you're going to be talking about in this video is describing your family history. And this is something Russians are interested in a lot, kind of knowing why you're interested in Russian. A lot of people have ancestors from Russia, and so this is a great useful thing to learn how to talk about. So you'll be able to talk about your ancestors, where they lived, and what nationality they were, also where you were born and raised. Next, we'll be talking about language verbs, the difference between по-русски and русский язык, and start introducing some more verbs that you might use to talk about what languages you know and read and write and so on and so forth. And we'll also talk about adverbs such as хорошо, плохо, чуть-чуть, неплохо. All right, so let's get started. Last week we talked about the present tense. And remember how we talked about how the infinitive, remember the te mякий знак, which indicates that you've got an infinitive verb, is not always very helpful in predicting what the conjugation forms are going to be. But I did tell you there is a system that you can assume will be on the ends of these verbs. But notice how this v appeared in all of the present tense form. That's because, like I said, the verb conjugations in Russian, although there is this system of these endings, you can't always predict the forms. Okay, but the great news is, in the past tense, it's way more straightforward. So 90% of the time, it's really easy to predict how the past tense is going to be. And you'll start to learn a few exceptions here and there, but for the most part, the Russian past tense is quite possibly one of the easiest things about Russian. So to get the past tense, you're going to take the infinitive. Remember, the infinitive is the version of the verb that hasn't been changed in any way yet. So жить means, and in English that would translate as to live. So the infinitive for the past tense is going to help you, unlike in the present. So what you're going to do is you're going to first just take off this te mякий знак. So all you have is жи, okay? And then you're going to add back on one of these four endings depending on the gender of the thing or person you're talking about. So if you're talking about a masculine, you put an L back on the end. If you're talking about a feminine, you're going to put a la, neuter, lo, ani, li. So let me show you how that works. So what you need to think about is the person who did this verb or the thing that did this verb, what gender are they? So for example, мой брат жил в Virginie. Okay? So I'm talking about my brother. My brother's the one doing the living, and then that's why I got a masculine here. Even though I'm a feminine, I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about my brother. So мой брат жил в Virginie. Now, right here, I am talking about myself, and I'm a feminine last time I checked. So, я жила в Москве. Now, if you're a man and you say this exact same sentence, you're obviously going to use the masculine form. Я жил в Москве. But since I'm a feminine, I say я жила в Москве. Next, твои предки жили в России. Okay, so who are we talking about in this sentence? We're talking about our ancestors. Твои предки. So, and they are a plural. So therefore, my past tense verb is also a plural. Твои предки жили в России. Мои предки жили в России. Next, okay, here's something you might ask a friend. Vlad. Vlad is a man, and you're talking to him. So you say, где ты жил? So even though I'm a feminine, I'm talking to Vlad, addressing my verb to him. So, Vlad, где ты жил? Next, this one's a little tricky, and this one takes a little bit of getting used to. Now, if you're going to be speaking to somebody formally, regardless of their gender, you need to use the вы form, which is going to look like a plural. So, Людмила Алексеевна, вы жили в Ростове или в Сочи? Okay? So, even though Людмила Алексеевна is a female, the formalness of it sort of trumps the femaleness. So you're going to put that into the жили form. Людмила Алексеевна, вы жили в Ростове или в Сочи. Okay, so let's do a little bit more practice here. Here's a dialogue that you're going to see some more past tense verbs in. Быть means to be. So all you do is take that t, мягкий знак off, and insert one of these four forms, depending on the gender. Same thing with работать. Take this final t, мягкий знак off, insert one of the four forms, depending on the gender, and there you go, past tense. Here we go. Вика, ты когда-нибудь была в Киеве? So Vika is Victoria. She's a feminine, and that's why we use the feminine version of to be, or to be. Sorry. So you're asking Vika, have you ever been in Kiev? Then she says, we know Vika is a feminine, so we can expect that she's going to have feminine endings on her verbs. Да, была, там жила и работала. See, look at all those feminine endings, because she's talking about herself, and she's a feminine. Next, then you ask, там было интересно? So right here, what are you saying? You're saying, there, it was interesting. So we're just saying an it was. Not talking about he or she, just it was. And that's why we have the o on the end of this verb. Там было интересно. Now, я никогда не был в Украине, or if you want to please Russians, say на Украине. So notice, just judging on this sentence, you should be able to figure out the gender of the person that's speaking right now. They said, не был. That's a masculine ending. So whoever this is obviously a male. Next, she says, then Vika says, интересно, я думала. So even if you don't know this verb, you can still see that past tense ending. This means I thought. Что, that, твой дедушка жил в Одессе, right? So дедушка, remember this is one of those tricky genders. Even though it looks like a feminine, a grandpa is still a male, and that's why he's getting a male verb right here. Then he says, да, дедушка родился в Одессе, но вырос и работал в Москве. So you don't know these verbs yet. You'll learn about them in an upcoming video. But this means, yes, Grandpa was born in Odessa, but he grew up and worked in Moscow. Okay, so now I want you to get some practice translating yourself. We're going to be using these three verbs, быть, работать, жить. Okay, so try this first one. I lived in Moscow, but now I live in Washington. Depending on your gender, your lived might sound slightly different. So if I said this about me, oh, actually, I put the masculine version. Я, you can say раньше, just meaning used to. Я раньше жил в Москве, но теперь живу в Вашингтоне. So obviously I'm a feminine, so I'd say я жила в Москве, но теперь живу в Вашингтоне. And notice that the present tense, they don't care about gender so much for the ya form. Okay, next. My grandpa worked at a university in Germany. So this is going to require you to use that prepositional case that we talked about last week. Мой дедушка работал в университете в Германии. So we've got дедушка is a masculine, so we get the masculine form there. В университете, at a university, and we're getting prepositional case on the end there. В Германии, again, prepositional case on the end, because we're saying in Germany. And the last one, it was interesting in Sochi. Было интересно в Сочи. Okay? All right, so now your homework. What I want you to do in the comments below is answer the following questions. Где жили ваши предки? Where did your ancestors live? Где жили ваши предки? So you could get really specific here. You could say something like бабушка жила в Швеции, дедушка жил в Дании, right? You could get as specific as you want. And by the way you say great grandpa, great grandma is just to put a pra in front of it. Прабабушка, прадедушка, прапрабабушка, прапрадедушка, and so on and so forth. And then you just put the pra for however many greats you want to put in front of it. Okay, в каких интересных местах вы были или жили? So this means, we haven't covered prepositional plurals yet, but this means, in which interesting places have you been or lived? So my answer might be something like, я жила в Москве, я жила в Израиле, я жила в Вирджинии. Я была в Англии, я была в Египте, я была в Эстонии и так далее. And then also, где вы работали? So for me, я работала в университете, я работала в ресторане, я работала в кафе, я работала в офисе, and so on and so forth. And then after you watch the next video in the playlist, you'll be able to answer this question about yourself. Где вы учились? Да, so я училась в университете Иллинойса, например. Okay? And then the next video in the playlist is going to be teaching you about reflexive verbs. And you'll be able to say by the end of that video where you study currently and or where you studied. And then later on, we'll do a song study with the song Miljon alle roos, and we'll look for the past tense. It's sort of telling you a story, and there's lots of past tense in it. So we will go through and listen to that song. It's very popular in Russian culture. Also, here's the information about joining the community, tutoring online, and so on and so forth. And the links to that will be down in the description below. Хорошо, это все. Пока.